Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Three Strangers podcast. I am your host, Joe Bob Briggs.
And I'm Bill. And
And
I'm
I'm
Bill.
I'm Nick. Just Nick.
Yeah, we're just normal. For those of you who are listening to this in audio format, Ryan, for no particular reason in particular, is a really really dudded out here. Dude, where'd you get that shirt? Like, he looks like a cowboy.
Yeah, a
Amazon
cowboy
Prime,
shirt.
baby.
Amazon
Amazon
Prime.
Prime.
You got the
Amazon
bolo
Prime.
tie with a gem on it
hmm
and a cowboy hat.
Got this straight from Tractor Supply. I am.
You know what it is, dude? You kind of look like it's almost like Ballad of Buster Scruggs. If you guys have ever seen that
Yes.
movie, you're like a gentleman cowboy. You're like where's your
Mm.
guitar? While you're like
Mhm.
riding horseback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a good look. It's a good
Oh,
look on
thank
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm Joe Bob Briggs. If you guys don't know who that is, he is a horror host who hosts The Last Drive-In on Shudder.
There you go.
He's brought up Dead Meat on one of the episodes where they won the silver bolo tie for he gives them sometimes
Oh.
at the end of episodes for
That's cool.
podcasts that
Oh,
talk
that's
about
fun.
horror that he really likes or enjoys.
Oh,
Uh,
a new goal.
yeah, a new goal is to be shouted out by Joe Bob. Oh my God,
Mhm.
I don't know what I would do. I gotta be honest. But this is our Halloween special. I dressed up for it, as you guys can see.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the classics, horror movie classics. What makes a classic? Why are they so important when we look back at them? Why do they withstand the test of time? So I
Mhm.
kind of want to start this off with you guys with what's your favorite horror movie classic?
Question. Wait a second. I didn't even think that. I didn't even think to like when you say that, to kind of define that, like you're talking about like a movie that's like pretty much universally loved and accepted as like a really like a classic in the genre, or
Yeah.
okay. Um, I mean, it is a movie that I just keep coming back to, and
Mm.
a lot of people love this movie, and I just like I'm like I know it sounds weird and like it's kind of nerdy, but like whenever like somebody's like, oh, I haven't seen that, I'm literally like, like you haven't seen, like, I can't believe that, like that's crazy
Mm.
because it was such a
Mm,
big part of my life from such an early age. Alien. I love
Mm.
Alien, guys, and I
mhm.
feel like it's really crazy because like obviously Alien's getting like another weird, like, people are talking about it again. I didn't watch Alien Earth. I don't know if you
Mm.
guys saw
I have
that. I
not
know that's
yet.
like
The
uh
show, right? You're talking? Is that Alien Earth?
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think that's why it's coming back, right? That the talk is coming back.
it was like Romulus, and
Mm.
Romulus was okay. It was good, not great. That's my hot take. I know a lot of people loved it.
That
Um
that's where I stand with it too.
Okay, good,
Mm.
not great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. It feels like the most classic return to the Alien formula. Something that I found really disturbing in the movie, though, and maybe it's because I just like am really worried about this going into like the future that we're currently living in.
Mhm.
Weyland-Yutani, the corporation that like sets off all the events of Alien, is depicted as like comically evil in the movie, and like
Mm.
it's almost like literally like kind of like ridiculous, and so like maybe I was just kind of like I was like a little uncomfortable with just like the idea that it's like, okay, well, I sure hope that like we're not moving towards like almost like indentured servitude, in
Mm.
space. I hope that's not true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in space. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
What about you, Nick?
I like bring up a list because like we said classics and my mind went blank and I could only picture Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and Friday the 13th. I really love a couple. One, I would have to say that the John Carpenter's The Thing. I think it's got the
Mm.
most perhaps rewatchability for me. Um, because I feel like that's something that you can watch continually and have it not still be figured out. Like if you're trying to track who is the thing at all times, I think that's like a really fun puzzle where if you like space it out enough where it's like, oh, you lose track of it. Um, I have definitely watched it multiple times, and have enjoyed it every time, and also have noticed little details every single time. And I feel like that's what creates like the most um I don't know, like that's what creates the most entertainment for me is how much I can rewatch this and still enjoy it. So definitely have to be the thing. What about you, Ryan?
So this month, I've been watching a horror movie every day. That has been my goal, and what
Every
what it
day?
became every day,
Is
and
that
I've done it
true?
so far. Yeah.
Sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Do we know this?
If
I
you go
don't
on my
think I knew this.
letterbox, you could see like every single day me putting
Oh,
on.
Yeah, you've been
dude,
busy.
this is shameful. I don't know.
What?
I think,
I
and
can be valid with
that's
both
a
of
real thing I
you.
gotta change. And I know, oh my God, Ryan, like, yeah, but no, sorry, every single day. Okay, I'm interested to. I feel like you can speak upon this very authoritatively. Okay.
So
Yeah.
this month, without even thinking that this is what I was going to be doing, and when we were deciding what the podcast was going to be, I've been watching all old horror movies that have been seen
Oh,
as
old
like
ones.
horror classics. So like,
Okay.
a few examples that I've watched recently was 1932 The Mummy, 1931 Dracula with Bela
Oh.
Lugosi, The Black Cat
Mm,
with Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, The
mm,
Invisible Man, Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, Frankenstein Freaks, just to kind of rattle off a bunch of
mm.
names. So, of course, when we're going to talk about what we think of with classics and stuff like that. For me, one of my favorites, I mean, I consider a classic. It's Suspiria. That's my favorite horror movie of all time. I'm not going to go in that direction with this. I'm going to say I really enjoyed when I watched it the first time. Just recently, The Old Dark House from 1932.
The old dark house.
The Old Dark House, directed by James Whale. He directed Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man. Like, he's very, very important in horror history. And my favorite that I watched of his is The Old Dark House.
It seems like I haven't personally heard of the old dark house. Obviously, I'm familiar with the Frankenstein films, so I'm curious. How did you come about it?
So it's kind of strange how I like came upon this movie. I was just watching a random horror like video on YouTube, and it just was one that got like thrown out as like a movie as an example within the discussion, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have never heard of that movie before. And so I looked it up, and there's a remake that I'm pretty sure either came out in the 50s or 60s. I have not watched that one to see how that is. I came upon this. It's a horror comedy.
Oh,
Whoa.
Yeah. Shocking 1932. And, like, of
Yeah,
course, there's
yeah,
comedic elements too, like Dracula and, like, all of those. Like, there's some sort of comedy aspect
Yeah.
within it. But
yeah,
this is a
Bride
horror
of Frankenstein
comedy.
too. Okay, interesting. Okay,
It has a
Yeah.
very interesting plot. It has great acting in it. Boris Karloff is in it. Melvin Douglas is in it. And for those of
Okay.
you who don't know, Melvin Douglas,
I
excellent,
certainly don't.
excellent
I
actor.
Wow.
Excellent actor. The Changeling, he is phenomenal
Oh.
in
Oh,
The
okay.
Changeling.
Okay. That's Melvin Douglas. Okay.
That's more
Okay.
familiar.
Yeah, not the
Mm.
main character. Not the main character. He's not the main
Oh,
character in
oh,
The Changeling.
okay.
okay.
Oh, okay.
He's
Okay.
he's one
Oh,
of the main
curveballs.
characters. He's the what's it called? He's the senator.
Oh, okay. In the Changeling.
Yeah.
No, that's I am surprised. I didn't think so. Sorry, this is like my own like perception of stuff. I didn't think that horror comedy got invented until like in like a true like, hey, this is a horror comedy. It's like the 70s or 80s. You're
Mhm.
saying that this existed like back in like the okay.
Yep,
Okay.
1932.
Wow. That is shocking.
Mhm.
That is really
What would you
shocking.
guys before you watched that, Ryan?
Mm.
What would you have labeled as a classic horror comedy?
That's a good question.
Oh, classic horror comedy. Probably one of the more famous ones, like Shaun of the Dead. I'd label that
Mm-hmm.
as a classic.
Mm-hmm.
It just
And
came
was
out
that
at a perfect time.
90s?
No, that's 2000s.
2000s at that point?
Yeah,
Because
2004.
horror
2004.
comedy, like, Scream's funny, but it's not a horror comedy. Um,
Mm. Oh, Scream. You're saying Scream the movie is funny.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, it's funny, but you wouldn't label Scream as particularly a horror comedy. It's a new age slasher.
Yeah. 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 I would say a new age slasher. Yeah, there is comedic elements, but it's not a this is going to be so confusing for someone who doesn't know horror movies, but it's not a scary movie, as in scary movie
Careful.
Yeah.
the franchise
Yeah,
scary
well, that's
movie.
the ultimate horror comedy.
Yeah, but it's
franchise,
funny.
kinda,
It's
right?
to me like Scream is what Scary Movie was inspired by. I believe. I would think that would be an easy stretch, right?
Mm. I mean, there's like the first one. I mean, you have yeah, you have all the references to Scream.
Yeah, it starts. It's pretty. I think it's pretty much the baseline of the whole movie is the Scream plotline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised about something you guys are not saying. I always think when I think classic horror comedy, I think of like Evil Dead, specifically Evil
That's
Dead 2.
true. Yeah, Evil
Specifically
Dead
Evil
2.
Dead
That's
2.
yeah.
Specifically Evil Dead 2. Have you seen Evil Dead 2, Nick?
I don't think I've seen Evil Dead 2, but Evil Dead is pretty. I guess I haven't seen Evil Dead 2, so I can't comment. But I've seen Evil Dead. That's something I would consider really darkly
Well-
comedic, if that's what we're saying.
Well, sorry. To also be clear, I'm talking about the '80s, the original. Like Sam
Oh,
Raimi.
okay.
Yeah, the
okay,
Sam Raimi
okay.
ones.
It's
Yeah,
a bit
yeah,
more
yeah.
silly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I always felt that it was kind of like weird because like the first Evil Dead came out, and what worked the best in that movie was the almost like oh, like like the winking nature of it, kind of like that's just like a character. It's like, oh, what if we, you know what I'm saying, like like what if we made that more of a focus on the next movie? And then I would say the second one is pretty solidly horror comedy, and then
Okay.
I don't know, then suddenly they're fighting.
Yeah, then Army of Darkness comes out.
Army of Darkness is kind of crazy. Army of
Yeah.
Darkness is kind of crazy, if we're being real. I think about that movie a lot as like a kind of a like predict where this franchise will go next, and the
Yeah.
answer is nowhere after that. But
Something I was thinking about when but trying to think about what we were going to talk about tonight. Something I kept thinking about was genre, subgenre of horror. And to me, I mean, when we think of a subgenre that really encapsulates the classics, what would you guys say it is?
like a subgenre that makes like something more classic.
Yeah, like or a that when somebody thinks of like an average person thinks of a classic horror movie, what genre would you say that that movie would be?
Well, I always think of slasher. I was thinking of
Same.
slasher movies. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Like, like I think we have to acknowledge, like, so this is interesting. This is something I feel like we've never really delved into the show a lot. Obviously there's the big three, right? There's the big three, like, icons of horror. I know a lot of people are like, oh, like we'll sneak Leatherface in there, or like sneak like like whoever they want in there, like it's a thing. People are now saying like Art the Clown is the thing, including in Fortnite, by the way. That was shocking.
Oh my
That was
gosh.
shocking.
That's when
shocking.
That's when you know it's a classic.
That's kind of when it weirdly does solidify him in like a weird way to be included in Fortnite. But I think we can acknowledge now that like even though like obviously I'm talking about Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th. Whoa, I almost forgot there. Like as like the big kind of three. I think it's okay. I think we can acknowledge now that like when we're honestly looking at those franchises as a whole, there's a lot of bloat. Right. And some things worked well. And like now they are so entrenched and so kind of like kind of like old guard in the thing, and they've been like rebooted like so many times, or
remakes.
like remade so many times that it's like almost like it's hard to know where like stuff begins and ends. And it's like obviously there's like the big ones, like the big movies in those like things, but honestly I like when I want to watch a slasher movie, I don't really reach for those, I'll be honest. I'll be
Right.
honest. I don't know
You
where
don't
you
reach for
guys are.
slashers.
I don't really reach. I don't really reach for slashers, and I
Mm.
particularly don't really reach for the big three anymore. I felt like I had this like time in my life when I was like, okay, I'm gonna like clear them all and be like,
Mm.
this was good, this was bad, this was good, this was bad. And then like I kind of like reached the end, and I was like, okay, like I don't think most people get this deep. Like most people like do, and this was when I was like in like later high school, like early college. I was like, I don't think most
Mm.
people get this deep, and I kind of understand why. You know, there's some like you know, if you're not super interested in slasher movies as like a concept, then
Mm.
I guess the reason you're watching it is for the iconography of like, oh, there's Michael Myers, or there's like
Yeah.
Freddy, or like to be part of the horror culture at large. Sorry, it seems like Ryan really wants to say something. I'm really nervous that he's gonna tear my ass up. I'm
Yeah.
really
No,
scared. I'm really scared.
I don't necessarily disagree with you because
Okay.
slashers were so popular and massive, and then the horror market just got so oversaturated with
Super
it,
saturated.
which is
Yeah.
why by the
Yeah.
90s, horror there. While we can name like great movies that came out in the 90s, like The People
Mhm.
Under the Stairs by Wes Craven,
Great.
Candyman
Mm.
came out. We can name
Mhm.
good movies, but
Mhm.
horror kind of died off then because
Yeah, that was a dead
people
zone.
got so sick of slasher films.
Yeah.
And now
Mhm.
we kind of see a revival a bit with remakes and stuff like that within the 2000s
Yeah.
and 2010s. We have
Mhm.
Scream that comes out, which kind of revitalizes the horror genre to where
Mm.
everyone knows
Interesting correlation.
Ghostface,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
what I think of when I think of horror classics, I instantly go to the Universal monsters.
Whoa, you go really old.
Really?
Because
You go
what
really
kid doesn't
old.
know Dracula? What kid doesn't know Frankenstein?
Oh.
There's
Mm.
ones that maybe aren't as in main culture, like The Invisible Man and The Wolf Man, that didn't really
Yeah.
hit that kind of, well, within the horror community, extremely important movies. I mean,
Right.
with incredible importance. But I go back to those early horror films that were coming out within like the 20s, 30s. Because, like I said, everyone knows Frankenstein. Again, it's
Mm.
Frankenstein's monster, but everyone knows him as Frankenstein.
Right.
We still have media coming out being those universal monsters. We have a new Frankenstein movie that's coming out.
That is extremely true. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Nosferatu
Yeah.
is based off
Vampire.
of Dracula,
Dracula. Right.
Right.
Dracula, the original
Right.
vampire.
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
that. It became a whole thing that Bram Stoker's wife, Florence Stoker, which fuck that woman,
Oh.
yes,
Why? Wait, why?
because she tried to erase the existence of Nosferatu, which is like one of
Oh.
the very first horror movies. So when they came out with Nosferatu back in 1922, it is very, very inspired by Dracula, and you could see all of
100%.
the references to it. And she went to
cease and
German
desist.
courts and all of that, and
Shit. I
then
mean,
Wow.
Germany stuff got destroyed. The only reason that movie survives today is because of the bootleg copies that were sent to America.
that is crazy.
Wow.
Sorry, literally speaking on Nosferatu, the original like 20s version, it is shocking. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm not gonna like, pretend to be like super like, oh, I'm like this affected me like as much as like, the thing. Like, I will say there's iconography in that movie, and there's
Mm.
like certain things that happen like in that movie that I'm like, this is like as artful and as like, honestly like tasteful as like any like, and I think like and this is oh man, okay, I want to spiral too out of control. I want to talk about a lot of how A24 has
Mm.
changed what defines like as like horror these days. But
Yeah. Good.
just
Interesting.
like Nosferatu is very slow. And like it like takes its time in like a kind of like deliberate way. I was really shocked. I watched it not for the first time, but for the first time in a long time prior to the I guess I mean it's a remake, but it's kind of not. I guess
The
it's a remake.
2024 Eggers.
The Eggers one, yeah,
It
yeah.
follows a lot of the formula, but it
It's
really
probably a
like
remake.
adds more details to the
Yeah.
original story,
Mm,
which I love about it. And like going back to like the original Nosferatu, there's just so many interesting things about that movie. It's directed by an openly gay man. F.W.
Mm-hmm.
Murnau was a gay man in
Yeah.
1922, openly.
Mm.
Yeah, very, 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 difficult time to be openly gay.
Yeah.
And I just there's like certain things that it's like weird because it's silent. Even though there's music and everything, there's no dialogue. There's just certain imagery that I think about that movie that sort of like seared into my head.
Mm.
As like a touchstone thing. It's really sad that it was almost completely destroyed. I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah.
Mm.
Jeez, yeah.
Such an important film to horror history. And I think
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about classics, there's sometimes like a categorization of it, right? And I
Mm.
know, Nick, you brought up the question. That's something you wanted to discuss. And like, I don't want to like take this question from you, but what is a horror classic? What makes a horror movie a classic?
Why did they become classics?
Yeah, and something for me that I think of for what makes a horror movie a classic is it's timeless. Its story. You
Mm.
could watch it at any time and kind of get a grasp of what is happening. It's still not, I don't want to say relatable in a sense, but you could still feel what the characters are feeling nowadays, even though the circumstances of it are different from now to back then. In most cases,
Yeah.
some of them that we talk about, we shouldn't have to still talk about it. But
There's a sense of like reality. You're saying.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm
And
thinking of
with-
like.
Oh, you go.
I'm thinking of like. Jaws, for example. Everyone has been to the beach.
Yeah.
Maybe not everyone, but most people have been to a beach in their life. And okay, and if we're talking about, I mean, I know Jaws is actually a whole other conversation if we're talking about impact that it had by itself. But yeah, you're right. You're talking about like relatability and reality. I wonder, would you mean more in writing or in setting?
Well, it could be both.
Mm.
A beach, everyone's been to a beach, right? That's a setting
Mhm.
everyone has been to. Or in terms of writing, we could look at Rosemary's Baby. We may not all like Rosemary's Baby. It might not be our favorite film. It might not be our favorite director. But
Okay.
Yeah.
people have children. That is
Right.
something that people can relate to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I guess, so then as we're thinking about this, thinking about relatability, thinking about writing, what I'm wondering is, are those elements still effective today? And what has changed?
A movie that I want to bring up because I have ideas of what I think will become classics in the future, and some that have already been written as if they are, and it's only been a few years. And one of them that was brought up in this list I saw was X.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I look at it in terms of what is it about? What is its message trying to be? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of it has to do also with how it's shot, the cinematography of it. I mean, X is shot beautifully. And I think I could see movies that are trying to recreate how that movie is shot. I think a modern example of one that could become a classic, which I have not seen, but like so many people are talking about it that I need to go see it, is The Long Walk. I've seen a lot of people saying that it's going to give Sinners a run for its money.
Yeah. Both in acting performance, and cinematography.
Yeah.
And simplicity.
Yeah.
That it's such a simple premise and yet so thrilling.
Yeah, and we could look at in terms of the sense of that movie's just people walking, right? Why
Yeah.
is that going to become a classic? What about it is going to make it so important? I don't have an answer really for that. I think it's something that has to withstand the test of time. And that was I know it's a Stephen King novel. I don't know off the top of my head when it was written. I'm literally typing it in right now. to see when the novel
Real
was
research.
written. 1979.
And there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And we're making it today.
Yeah, I mean, it's so. First of all, so many movies, right, are based on great novels, sometimes greater novels, and I wonder, is that where the pool of classics of tomorrow are, or does it come more from different concepts, concepts that we're seeing in more modern films that will stand the test of time tomorrow that may not have stood the test of time in the 20s or 60s, 70s, 80s even. And I'm thinking about some movies that we've seen in the last few years. You know, thinking about like Get Out, thinking about uh, thinking about Sinners, thinking
Yeah.
about a
The
couple other
Substance.
movies. The Substance,
Yeah.
great example. Definitely, we're tackling themes here that were not addressed. Well, we're not the focal points of horror films earlier before, and so I'm wondering, you know, what are you guys seeing element wise of what's going to be the classical elements of tomorrow, I guess, is what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I mean, something that I think about, like, not to, I know we've talked about Sinners a lot already. We wasted, or
Yeah.
not wasted, but delighted, talking about Sinners, for a long time. But something that really struck me about Sinners, um, something that made it so real and I feel like so impactful is that it was deeply rooted in like this almost like you there was like pieces of Sinners that we all kind of like heard, about in like some way. Like,
Mm.
like it was like the Mississippi Delta area during like the 1920s, which is something that, I'm gonna be so real, I cannot personally relate to.
Mm.
Even though
Yeah.
living in America, but like, it's like not like something that you like really like super like attach anything to. But I felt like something about that movie that was so good is that it really made that time feel like alive, like there was like normal people like you and I just living during that time. I feel like we tend to like
Yeah.
look towards the past and have this like weird sort of like nostalgia. It's like, oh, people just did things differently back then. They were just like weirdos, like they
Right.
didn't know any better or like whatever, but to that end, I think that there's probably gonna be more of an emphasis, especially when doing like historical horror
Mm.
movies or like anything that takes like period piece horror movies, on making
Mhm.
sure that time feels pretty lived in. And we do see that in other movies, but I think Sinners was a
Yeah.
particularly good example of that. So
Mm.
Yeah. Go on, Ryan. You're gonna say something?
I was gonna say I want to go back to what you said, Nick, about discussing themes that maybe haven't been discussed before within
Mm.
horror, and I'm gonna throw out again. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think just kind of expanding upon what you said, right? Going to like an example of The Substance, which deals with like
Mm-hmm.
women's body, like body
Women's body
imagery,
images. Yeah.
and
Body
how
imagery.
it is portrayed
Self
within
image.
media, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've always had stuff coming out about like body image. That's where body horror comes from. With the Quartermass Experiment, you have movies like Tetsuo the Iron Man coming out in the 80s.
Mm.
You have, I mean, the
yeah.
80s is defined by body horror.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah, that's valid.
slashers and you have body horror. Those became
Mhm.
kind of hand in hand with each other. But
Mhm.
I think where I agree is how we take that specific like body horror, right? That very specific element, and how
Yeah.
we could paint through the decades where we are at as a society on that particular thing. Where
Yeah.
The Substance is coming out talking about how the media portrays body image. Maybe that
Right.
wasn't an issue back in the 80s, or it was an issue, but maybe it wasn't something that
Just
was a
wasn't
focal
talked
point
about.
that
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying. Like we are going farther into reality. It's like what we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
talking about before, when reality is what's relatable and that's what makes those things so timeless. The new classics of today are still that reality, but it's the reality of things that are more talked about now, like body image, like media presentation, like body enhancing drugs. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how those things are still they're so upfront today, and the analysis of it is also so relevant. So I think that you made a really good point there earlier about the talking about how real things are. We still have things today that are real. We haven't run out of space to dive deeper into topics that have been around for ages.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's
Right.
why we look back at some movies like Jennifer's Body, where maybe it
Yeah.
was a little bit too early for its time, whereas now we're looking at like,
Mm.
wow, look at like what this movie was trying to do. And this is really relatable.
That's a good point. That's a really good example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I do think there is well, actually, Bill, do you have anything to say? I feel like I know what subgenre we could go on to next, though. That might flip this on his back.
I am interested to hear what you're thinking about, Nick. I am. So I want to hear this. What you got?
Okay, so I'm thinking about paranormal movies,
Hmm.
which seems, if I were to say, so I think I'd argue that they have only gotten better with time.
Paranormal.
At least if we're talking like from the 60s or from the 20s even to today, or from the 60s to like maybe 2010.
Can I
So,
jump in and do a little history of supernatural horror right here?
Yeah, go
'Cause
Yeah,
ahead.
bro. What you got?
Please
What you
do.
got?
So this, funny enough, is kind of we're at this point in my class where we were talking about supernatural horror and how it starts
Hmm.
to merge genres with psychological horror, how they start becoming hand in hand, going together. Um, Horror
Okay, yeah.
movies that were supernatural films in the early days were seen as comedic. They weren't very scary. The first example of a scary supernatural horror movie
Right.
is kind of widely seen as The Uninvited, which came out in 1944.
Okay.
I showed the kids in my class that movie because I wanted to show them kind of the start of where supernatural became scary. And their biggest complaint about it was it's not scary. It's very melodramatic, that movie. Kind of like what a lot of 40s, late 30s, and you could even say probably early 30s horror films are. A lot of melodrama, family dramas, something within that realm. And it makes sense because then once we go into the 50s, we have like the nuclear family that we start talking about.
Right.
Early examples of horror that kind of leads into what is happening. As we go further and further on, we start to get more psychological horror movies and supernatural that kind of start coming together. An example of that would be The Innocents, which came out in 1961. A film I just recently watched for the first time. Excellent movie. I was shocked watching about how much I really ended up loving and enjoying it.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't say that it's particularly scary. I think once we start getting into this, once we start getting into the 80s, 90s is where I think the supernatural like subgenre starts to have some more depth to it, to where it gets scarier. But again, this is something where back in the 40s, people were afraid of the uninvited because they're seeing stuff that they haven't seen before. The 60s, The Innocents, was scary. That was stuff that they haven't seen before. I think where we are nowadays in 2025 with how much technology and stuff that there is, it's harder to become scared by the supernatural because of how much technology that we have, but yet horror films are trying to find ways to make it scary. Whether it be combining it with a subgenre that we do find scary. I always go back to body horror because I think that human image is such a fear for people, how people conceive themselves and how they feel people conceive them and how they look. But I think as technology has like gotten better in terms of us in our normal days, like our normal living, we're not as afraid of the supernatural. But within film, the supernatural subgenre has gotten better because we have that technology that we can make images a lot scarier. We have the Good Boy, I think is what it's called, that just came out, which is a supernatural horror movie shot from the perspective of a dog.
Good boy. Yeah.
It kind of
Now,
needed creative.
I
You've kind of forcing different perspectives now because
right.
we've had to make that jump. But go ahead, Bill. You were gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm really interested in Good Boy. I'm excited to see Good Boy because I'm gonna come out and say I'm sure it's scary. I'm sure there's like scary elements to it. I'm gonna say that a lot of it works probably because people don't like dogs being in a situation. You know what I'm saying? Like they're probably like, oh no, like like please don't do anything bad to the dog. Um, I
Why is the
Yeah,
first It movie good? It's kids.
the
We are
the first
afraid
It
for the
movie.
kids. We see it from the perspective of the kids. Why is it chapter
yeah.
2 not as good, not as effective, not as scary? They're
They're
adults.
adults.
They're adults. I would also say, I mean, we can talk about it like for like a whole thing like in of itself, but like there is something to be said like oh God, speaking of like film history stuff, like I like and sorry, I don't mean to like rubber band back and forth like too much. There was something that was going on in the 60s that I think about a lot where it was almost like a sort of like horror fantasy type deal. One of my favorite OG horror movies is Eyes Without a Face.
Mm,
Have you
great,
guys ever
great
seen that one?
example.
Great movie. Great movie.
Is
Um
awesome.
Not like maybe particularly like in your face like yeah like jump and like scary, but it's very like situationally and just like through the drama this is like a horrific situation.
It's
Like if that makes
psychological.
sense.
A hundred
Yeah,
percent psychological.
yeah. It's like a
Yeah.
slow burn. It's like a slow burn. But I've heard people call Eyes Without a Face like a fantasy film insofar that it's like like there's certain conceits that you have to just like accept for any horror movie to work. But it is interesting that it's like, it's like sort of like, could this really happen like, without anyone knowing, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like how long can someone really get away with that stuff, Um
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another subgenre I want to talk about, but I don't want to rubber band her out too much. One that I'm particularly excited about, but did you guys have a thought on
Well,
yeah.
I am kind of gonna rope in another subgenre because I think
Okay.
I don't think we can discuss modern supernatural movies without discussing the upbringing of found footage. I know we just discussed
Mm.
the Blair Witch Project for our 50th, and I yeah, I think it's safe to say that like it's that subgenre that takes the supernatural horror and adapts to the times and embraces the technology. But I think what's something that's interesting there is it's almost this dichotomy of just when we have a subgenre that is suddenly embracing um a subgenre that's embracing uh, 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 the technology and adapting to the times. I think at the same time, ironically, it's utilizing less. Right? It's like this like simplicity of the Blair Witch Project is just a camera, like something we've always had, or something like Paranormal Activity, which is just a camera, is just this found footage. I think like that has been like a successful use of the times while also a return to simplicity. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think nowadays it's really hard to write a good horror movie. And it's
Mm.
because of the technology that we have nowadays. Because people could argue they could have called the police. They could have done this. They could have went here and done
Cell
that.
phones. Cell
Yeah,
phones.
to
Yeah.
where like
Mm-hmm.
horror writers have to be so critical of, okay, what is every possible thing that could give away what this is, and how can we take that away
I
from our main characters?
Dude,
Yeah.
it's like a meme. It's like a meme that I've seen where it's like it's like oh modern horror film. It's like oops, like my phone broke, or like oops, like we're at a cell phone
Mm,
service. It's like they gotta get rid of the phone quick. You know what I'm
mm,
Yeah.
saying? Like
mm-hmm.
they gotta get rid of like easy help lifeline quick. Like that's
Yep.
very important to the success of like so much stuff like that. Like
It's a
wasn't
good point.
Yeah, like
They do that
it
in X. I think like that comes to my mind right away, right?
literally do it in X. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's so funny. Um, no, yeah, it's like you do have to ask yourselves in like some ways like what hasn't been done, like what's like not derivative, you know?
Mm.
There's something I want to talk about. So sorry, coming at this, and maybe this is like a bit off the classics top. Ryan, I know you're pretty into the Shudder like
Mhm.
side of things. Like you're like pretty entrenched in that thing. I recently heard of a found footage series that I'd heard about but never got like super deep into. VHS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
What is your opinions on like the idea of like an anthology found footage horror concept? Do you think it makes it scarier that there is no cohesive narrative in terms of that? Have you seen them, by the way? Sorry, I don't want to
I've
like,
seen
you know.
most of them. I haven't seen the most
Okay.
recent VHS one just because it's come out and I'm in my like classics kind of like old
Era.
horror film like
Yeah.
thing that I'm doing. So I will get to it. I'm gonna take that, but I'm gonna go back in time with this one too.
Okay.
So
Cool.
horror anthologies has been around for a little bit. We kind of seeing of a very well made horror anthology is called Dead of Night. I don't know if you
Whoa.
guys have heard of that one.
I've
No.
heard of it.
Great
I,
film.
yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it. It
I
came
have
out
this
in
in my letterbox.
1945, I think. 1945. Don't quote
Hmm.
me on that. Um,
Yes, it did.
British.
Wow.
It.
God damn. Yeah. Sorry,
Let's
I'm looking
go.
it up right now because I need to grab. I want to grab it for later. Yeah. Cool.
But it's a movie that where it's you have your main story and you have these other stories within it that come to that main story itself. Uh, you have like in the 60s you have a few horror anthologies coming out. Uh, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, Trick or Treat, is a horror
Mm-hmm.
anthology, and they all I kind of see it as my favorite horror movies that are horror anthologies all have some sort of through line through each movie. For Trick or Treat, you have Sam. For Dead of Night, you have this person who is experiencing the same dream over and over again and knows the
Hmm.
events of what is going to happen that night and is afraid of what is going to happen. So going towards VHS, and I could even say like the ABCs of death within that kind of same vein, that there's short horror stories within a big
Hmm.
with I guess without a narrative fully. uh I don't see, and I'm sorry VHS fans, I don't see them as classics. I
Hmm.
enjoy them. I think that they're good films. I would say Trick or Treat is a classic. It's a
Okay.
story on Halloween night. Everything that happens within the same night. I think for me, there has to be some sort of through line within a horror anthology for it to be one of the better ones.
Hmm.
Um, because then it just becomes just separate entities within one bigger movie. Although I will say, All Hail Ratma, that could be a classic within VHS.
Well,
That singular story.
I'll be real. Somebody. Oh. Okay, that's really interesting because someone told me that is a friend of mine that's a horror fan at work. He actually listens to the podcast.
Hey,
Hey,
hello.
Misael.
Shout
I don't
out.
know if shout out Misael. But he was like, oh, if you're gonna watch one, if you like, should see one of them, it should be, I believe, the '94 one.
That's a good
The
one.
one that takes place in 1994. Not like it was made in '94, but
Mm.
and so I don't know. I guess that's the plug that I have for that. Dude, I was sorry. I was just quickly. I was like listening to you. Dead of Night is so interesting. Crazy
Dead
ahead of
Knight's
its
really
time.
interesting. Yeah,
Crazy ahead of its time. Like
it's a
idea, like
classic.
concept wise. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, big
Apparently it's very
recommend.
good. Yeah. Okay.
Big
Wow.
recommend.
That's
Not, I wouldn't say it's scary. It's so
okay.
funny because it's another. I think something that we see at trends nowadays is that we are combining horror genres together,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah. Yep.
and we could see that throughout time as well. Some of our better ones, like I keep on bringing up, supernatural and psychological start going hand in hand. You could
Yeah.
even
Yep.
say supernatural found footage start going hand in hand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I always
That
think, yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, you
Sorry, I
no
want
no
to hear.
Bill, what do you think?
Well, sorry to pick up your energy and take it even further. Something I've been thinking about a lot, and and this is sort of what I view, love it or hate it. I think most people are love. I think they went through a bit of a slump. A24 has a lot of things under their belt, which is almost like gothic and like rustic horror
Hmm.
kind of combining, or
Rustic,
like
yeah.
that idea, like, thing. Obviously, Midsummer as like a very
Yeah.
quick, like,
Yeah.
like grab, like, like for like that thing. I'll be honest though, I was not that much of a fan of that genre. I know people love The Wicker Man. Like I think it's good. I think it's good, but like,
Ryan just leaned in.
I was say, I was gonna say, what are you
you
about to say
wait,
about
wait, wait,
the
wait.
OG Wicker Man?
Yeah, you're to be extremely clear. The OG Wicker Man, the OG Wicker Man. Are you a big stand for it? I didn't know
Oh,
that.
I
I didn't know that.
love the original
It's
Wicker
good.
Man.
It's good. It's good. It's good. Okay. Well, gosh, now I feel like I need to revisit it. I'm
It's
not
good,
talking
but
about
it
the Nick
definitely.
Cage one. Not talking about the Nick Cage one. I am not
Yeah,
talking
well,
about
that
that one.
one. Listen, I'll
Yeah, yeah,
defend
yeah.
that one in terms of like it is so funny. It's
Comedy.
not a good
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, the comedy. Yeah.
This is, I think, another good example of like what makes a horror movie a classic and like kind of the time that comes out. Wicker Man, OG Wicker Man, 1973.
Hmm.
Catholicism versus paganism.
You're very interesting.
Religion, super, super, super important at that time.
Yeah.
In England, very specifically England, to where people are like, we need to burn this film and make sure that no one sees it, which is why we have never seen a true cut of the OG Wicker Man, because
Whoa.
part of it has been lost.
Dude, I didn't
And
even
it's
know
crazy
that.
to say that within 1973.
Yeah.
Lost
That was
film
like
is like
50 years ago.
20s, 30s when like they didn't know how to store crap yet and stuff got destroyed and then you couldn't get it
Right.
again. Thankfully we still have like freaks that survived it somehow, but I think that's kind of the time period and what people do with the movie also made it a classic. Now you have Nick Cage Wicker Man versus women.
Yeah.
Do people talk
Completely
about
different.
that like it's important, like it somehow has this big greater messaging beyond its surface level commentary on society? No, no one cares about the Nick Cage Wicker Man. They're just like, ha, that Nick Cage just punched a woman in a bear costume. That's the that's the
It'd be
amount
all
of
and all.
dialogue we have within that movie. Time period, and it's just something we just keep on bringing up. What is happening around the time that a movie comes out? Does that make it the classic that it is? Does it withstand that test of time where it's something that we can relate upon? I would say that religion, I don't know if this is a hot take nowadays, isn't as important in society as it was back in like the 70s, 60s, 50s, all of that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think statistically there is this shift away from modern religion or traditional religion. People are seeing less and less people go to places of worship, at least in the in Western civilization for sure. Yeah. I think about and the same kind of token here. I'm thinking about like the witch.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now-
Oh yeah.
now,
Quick.
Personally, I am not a fan of, but I understand what the witch does.
You didn't like The Witch?
No, I
Oh
think
man.
I
Oh,
think it's
man.
incredibly boring. Shout out to Dylan, who we've had on the podcast, if you're listening, because him and I both agree. Look, it is
slow.
boring to us, but
Okay.
it's symbolic. There's a lot of symbolism that's going on, and I think like that's the respectful part. It's a bit more of a it's almost like it's almost more poetic than it is horror to me. However, it does utilize, and it became a lot of people. I would say it's a classic for a lot of people as well. A little more newer, but still like incorporating the religion aspect. It's kind of a look back into that religion aspect, right? And Sinners comes to my mind too, where like it's that even it's I mean, Sinners I think is considered probably later in the timeline than what The Witch is trying to represent.
Right.
But yeah, the colonial kind of Puritan settlement kind of vibe that The Witch has. I think it does a really good job at capturing that religion and making it scary. Um,
You know,
anyway, just to add that example, of what you're talking about, right?
to pick up your energy a little bit, Nick. Um, I think that the best kinds of horror movies, something that's very universal, in horror, and like that's been like like thing like since like horror movies have been around, have like normal people like you and I, coming into contact with forces out of their control, right?
Yeah.
Forces that you just don't know what they're gonna do. It's like the unknown, right? Um, and I think that that's something that is sort of like is in the Wicker Man. Like when it comes like I'm like that is true in horror in general, but to center in like a little bit more on like the idea of like spirituality in like horror films, like things like The Wicker Man, things honestly like Midsummer, the Witch. Honestly, I'm gonna even go back. I know The Witch is like sort of colonial. Even going further back, not to bring up A24 again, but the Green Knight,
Mm-hmm.
and like sort of
Mm.
like and while that might not necessarily be like a horror film in the typical thing, I
Hmm.
would say that there is enough
Or a classic, but
or a
sorry.
classic thing. Yeah, it's not exactly a classic. I think it could come to be viewed as a film that was interested in a certain like there's a weird group there's almost something that like I feel like people, and it wasn't necessarily even like last year or the year before, but like a weird like 10-year stretch where like it feels like horror kind of moves in waves like that. Like people are like, oh, that was like an interesting thing about concerning itself with spirituality, concerning itself with like fear of the unknown during like a time when like people didn't have access to information easily.
Hmm.
um that was kind of like I think we're gonna be surprised in like 10 years from now, and people are like, yeah, remember like that time like when when everybody for some reason was really interested in like that sort of like concept, like that sort of gothic rustic like kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna come to view that as like a whole era in of itself.
Yeah, but why do
Maybe
you
not
think
classics,
that
yeah.
people do that? You by
uh,
doing it back in the day, you get rid of the
yeah,
issue of cell phones. You get rid of the issues of modern technology. So now you have people writing these stories that take
Mm,
place before that, so you don't even have
it's
to worry
escapism.
about that anymore.
It's
mm,
escapism too, you know
Yeah.
yeah.
like yeah,
Hmm.
like I don't know really anything. I mean, I know some things about like the reality of life, but it's through this like very hokey sort of non super informed lens where it's like I can just guess, like the
Hmm.
kind of things. But it is nice to be transported to that time, even if it is like, hey, yeah, things were kind of miserable back then in like a weird, it's like we just have to accept. I think we can weirdly accept that maybe human beings have gotten let's to make a really good point. I want around this to make a really good point. Help me, guys, help me.
Okay.
Okay, human beings, it used to be a battle of human beings against like nature and the unknown.
Mm.
Now it's almost like a matter of like human beings versus each other, or versus like existential circumstances. And
Hmm.
so I feel like slasher movies are very concerned with threats from within, and that was really popular for a certain period of time then. But then it's
Hmm.
like people got tired of that. It's like, oh well, what if we did things about like like this could not actually happen in terms of like what we perceive as like normal everyday life, things like supernatural, things like not the supernatural, not the TV show, but that is not very scary at all, respectfully. But
No. A lot of fun
you
though.
know a lot of fun, but not very scary. It does feel weirdly like the times reflect what people are finding scary, and that's what people choose
Yeah.
to make films
I
about.
mean, we
You
could
know,
go back to the 50s with like the Red Scare. We have
oh,
Invasion
Body
of the Body
Snatchers,
Snatchers. Yeah.
easy,
Mm,
easy,
yeah.
easy.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Great classic. Fun
well,
classic.
and it's okay. I guess we're gonna have to uncork something here, guys.
Okay.
Um, Classic film, however, outdone by its superior 70s remake.
78. Yeah,
The
yeah.
78 remake
1978 with
is
Donald Sutherland and Jeff
honestly
Goldblum.
so
Mm-hmm.
The
it's
Thing.
just a better
Mm.
movie. It's just a better movie. The
The
Thing,
Thing.
The
Yeah.
Thing. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Some people argue, and I don't know. This is one that's always been a real head scratcher for me. People really like the 80s Blob. I believe it's 80s.
Yeah,
80s Blob.
88, 89, somewhere in there.
It certainly sheds itself of its hokiness, that the original Blob possesses in some ways.
Mm.
I don't find the original Blob very scary. It's still a classic movie, though. I don't know if you guys have seen or want to weigh in on that. There is an idea though that horror films that are getting remade have to be like revamped, right? Even
Yeah.
Nosferatu, several times over. You
So
know,
yeah,
Yeah.
back in the
Yeah.
another one that was in the 70s that got remade. I
Mhm.
mean, I
Which is-
love the new Nosferatu. I think it's great. I think
Me
it
too.
expands upon the story well. I don't like when a good example of this is Psycho 1960 to then Psycho 1998. A
That
shot for shot
shot.
remake.
yeah, unnecessary. you know?
Unnecessary. There needs to be
Mhm.
something new, something fresh to the movie. Suspiria 1977 to 2018. New, fresh idea.
New.
Takes the
Yep.
idea, the circumstances of the movie, but then
Mhm.
does something completely different with it. And
Yeah.
so people really appreciate the remake.
There's an important question here, I think, that maybe creeps in,
Mhm.
is this question that I think a lot of people are afraid of the true answer to, which I'm not saying to know, but with all of us talking about remakes and the remakes of older movies becoming
Right.
classics, is originality something that's dying with horror movies?
If you would have asked this in the 2000s, I would say yes. But I mean, we've always seen horror films that have been based upon books. We've always seen horror films that have been based upon like TV shows or based on a character from another movie that then becomes famous. Terrifier. Terrifier is from the movie All Hallows Eve. And then that segment got so popular, people loved it, that it ends up getting its own franchise and movie, and now look how big Terrifier is. There's still originality, The Substance, Sinners.
Yeah.
You still have these original ideas. The issue is studios are afraid to post and make original movies for the fear that's going to fail.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of the times they do.
It does.
And
Yeah.
it's we could blame COVID as a reason for this, that people want to just stay home and watch it from their own couch. They don't have to go out, fear getting sick. We could blame the skyrocketing of prices, inflation. Back then you could see a movie for pretty cheap. Nowadays, if you were to go to AMC without having the AMC ticket, gold ticket, whatever
We get it,
it's called,
Ryan. We get
Yeah.
it. Ryan's a member.
Yeah, but still,
Oh, flex a little harder, bro.
but that's to have that
No, you're right.
is $25 a month to watch a movie that is not any price taken off for seeing it before 12 p.m. or whatever deals that they do on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and the movie's in black
Right.
and white.
Yeah.
It's like $16. Then you want popcorn. That's another $16. Then you want a soda. That's
sure, yeah.
$8.
yeah.
So why wouldn't you stay home and watch a movie?
See what you did, Nick. You got Ryan going about the theater culture that we live in, all right?
Yeah. But I think that this is an important point. We're seeing it in other mediums too. I think all of us are theater people. We can all talk about how the Broadway is seeing the same trend.
Yes.
Remakes or remasters or jukebox musicals, things that already exist and that are now in a different medium. Revivals, like those are doing better than anything else. When I watch movies like Sinners and The Substance, I haven't seen, but I've heard a lot of talk about Bring Her Back. Like those kind of movies that people are, it's a breath of fresh air. Honestly, even though I wouldn't say this was an amazing movie, but even like Companion, where it is like another step forward in what technology is becoming or could become in a in the AI future kind of way. It's a little bit of a breath of like, okay, this is something relatively new or something with a different perspective. That's looking quite nice and quite hopeful. But we are almost at the end of 2025, 20, which we thought was going to be a horror-filled year. And I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if there's going to be many classics from 2025.
It's interesting because like it's like one of those things, Ryan, something you said that was very interesting that I thought about is that like, you were like, oh, like if you would have asked, like, if you asked the question, like, is like remake culture like killing stuff like 10, 15 years ago? I think yes, I think it was, right? Like, I think it like you definitely could have like said that. I think these days though, something that a trend that is making me hopeful, right? And to cut a little light into the darkness here, maybe just a little bit, okay? Just bear with me here. We are seeing a rise in kind of like, independent horror. People,
Mm,
and not even like obviously there's like a difference between like small budget and like micro budget or like independent filmmakers and like small studio stuff. Um more and more people are able to get materials and ideas out there that I think kind of like are worthwhile. That's something that's beautiful about the internet. There's painful parts of the internet obviously as well, when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I am not fearful, even though even though it does really suck that like you can sorry. So to give an example, I really like Star Wars. I don't know if I don't advertise that a lot. People are always shocked when I say that. Um but when it was Revenge of the Sith was back in theaters, people were
Hmm.
like, "Oh, you're gonna go see that, right? You're gonna go see that back in theater." I was like, "No." Like
what?
why would well, I just like I just don't like the idea. And sorry, I would say like the like thing, and like maybe it was more in my head like something like it's like, oh yeah, I'll go do that, and it just never quite materialized, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think there is something about like the painful thing we have to admit is that the more you feed into remake and remaster and re-release culture, even though it's
Mm.
comforting and good,
Oh, I see.
it's like it's like a self-fulfilling
You're
thing where it's
reinforcing.
right.
You're reinforcing and validating that this can keep happening.
Right, this can just keep happening, right? And
Mm.
like and what's super frustrating, is that like I feel like you can like try to make that point, and people are like, oh well, it's like it is sort of this weird like, oh, if one person does it, it's not that big a deal, but if multiple people do it, then it kind of becomes this thing where it's like, well, okay, if a movie that was made, sorry, it costs movie theaters like literally nothing to like re-release a film. And while like I understand that like the movie business in general, like of showing theaters like operating a movie house is not very profitable,
Mm.
it's like like all I'm just trying to say, we just gotta be so careful. We just gotta be so careful. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know with that
I,
sort of idea.
I want to
But
go back to what you said, Nick, about 2025 might not be a year with classics, with
uh-oh,
many
With
classics.
many
you're about
classics,
to
yeah,
get
we'll
lit
say.
up,
I mean,
Many
Nick.
put
You're
classics.
about to get
yeah,
lit
okay.
up, Nick. You're about to get lit
No,
up, dude.
no,
You're about to
because
get...
when I think of really strong years of horror recently, 2022 and 2024 are the two that come to mind for me. That
Hmm.
isn't to say that 2023 was a bad year for horror. You have When Evil Lurks that came out that year, which is incredible. You have Talk to Me that came out that year, which is
Right.
it's going to become an important movie.
Mm.
When I look at this year, I think we had a lot of movies that had excellent marketing. That when we ended up watching them, maybe they didn't succeed at all of the expectations that were left for it.
Mm.
Um, exceptions being Sinners is incredible. I
Mm.
really loved Companion. I think that is still one of the best for the year for me. Um, the new Final Destination, a lot of people really, really enjoyed. Um,
Shocker. Out of nowhere, by the way. Who would have
yeah,
thought that would have been so good?
Yeah, who
Anyway,
would have thought
yeah.
an eighth movie or something?
yeah.
Seventh movie, I
After
think, in the
years
franchise.
and years after
Mm-hmm.
years, yeah. Yeah.
Bring Her Back was very, very good. I could see that
Yes.
becoming a classic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Weapons I enjoyed. I had fun with. I
Yeah.
think that could end up becoming one down the line that starts to have
An
a
impact.
I think it could be a Jennifer's Body again. That down the line people look back at
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, we'll talk about weapon. Well, okay. I mean, I kind of just previewed my thoughts. Classic material. Maybe not. I
that's a
don't know.
disagreement. All right.
I guess you got a little rift
And
there.
that's the thing. Because back in the 80s, you might have had someone that said the thing is going to become a classic, and
Oh,
someone
don't
say, and that's not
I'm
to
that
say
guy.
that.
I'm that
could
guy
have.
now. I'm that
Yeah.
guy.
But
God
I'm not
damn
going to
it.
say that Weapons is anywhere close to the thing. And let's not get that
Yeah, that's
twisted.
kind of
Okay.
that's kind of where
Okay.
I'm at with it. Yeah.
But I feel like this year, like this month and last month, and like I just have not had time to go to the theaters, and it's making me very upset because I feel like there's been
Yeah.
so many that I'm hearing so much about.
Yeah.
The Long Walk, The Black Phone 2, shockingly, I'm hearing a lot
Really?
about.
Good things?
What? Really? Well, you're hearing
yes.
a lot of good things
I've
about
been
it.
hearing good things about it.
Because it looked like cold black phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like cold the black phone, you know what I'm saying? Frigid the black phone, you know? Like, you
Yeah.
know, winter
Yeah.
black phone. Anyway, whatever.
It
Fine.
ends oh my god, was I
Ethan Hawke?
forget when that comes out. But
Oh.
I've been hearing good things about that movie.
Oh, it ends. Oh, I see. Okay.
Like I feel like this year might be one of those where it's like all of them are coming out at once, and it's banger after banger after banger after banger. Where I feel like 2024, 2022, a lot of like my favorites of the years of that year came out in like the earlier months. And not that
It was
it
more
died down
dispersed.
at the end of the year, but there was, 2022, X comes out in March, Pearl comes out in September, Prey came out over the like summer months. I forget exactly when Prey came, or it might have been May. You have Barbarian, which came out in the later months of 2022. You have Dark Glasses, which came out earlier in the year on Shudder, and you have The Menu, which came out in December. Those were my favorites of 2022. All kind of dispersed without, but a lot of it within that first half of the year.
Wait a second. Sorry, you consider The Menu a horror film?
Yeah, I'd consider it a horror film.
That's interesting.
I think it's like experimental in terms of like genre bending and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I would say it's horror.
It
I-
genre bands.
Yeah, maybe I weird. I viewed it more as like a suspense, almost like drama film.
Oh, it's
almost, like
definitely a
little
drama.
bit, but yeah.
In the 40s, like I brought up before, a lot of the horror films were like melodramas, but they were still considered horror films.
Interesting.
We
Rafe?
see like some genre bending. We see some, as Green Goblin would say, Willem Dafoe back to formula. But
Yeah.
Wow. I no, sorry, now I'm thinking about The Menu, and I like The Menu a lot. Ray Fiennes. Holy crap, that guy. He's just like
incredible actor.
everything he touches just turns to gold. That's so crazy. Damn.
I'd even bring this up. 28 years later, people are looking at that like, oh my god, what a
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And weird to have such a, again, like with later on in the, I mean, it's a trilogy, right? Trilogy.
It's gonna
sort
become a
of
trilogy.
fourth. Yeah, it will become a trilogy. Yeah, it's so interesting when you have a later movie in a saga become the better one, like Final Destination
Yeah.
as well.
And I
Oh.
want to bring up one that failed, that came out this year that was supposed to be massive. Megan 2.0.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, that's okay, dude. I literally was like, I know the point was to be like, like, oh, like which one's the one that failed? And I'm like, oh yeah, that did come out this year. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, the original Megan was good. It was good, but I'm not surprised. Did you saw it?
No, hell no, I wasn't gonna see that.
Oh, really?
No, I'll watch it. I was not watching it in theaters. I was like, I'm kind of good. And
Yeah.
a complaint that I heard from people about it is it's not horror at all.
Oh,
Really?
what is
Yeah.
it? What's it steal?
It's
Oh,
action, like kind not buddy cop like type movie, but like somewhere within that vein.
Now, it's interesting to me that I wonder, like, call me crazy. Maybe this is gonna be a little crazy, but I almost feel like Megan 2.0 could be a classic way down the line if we're talking about a future of AI.
oh, bro. What you think it's gonna?
Over Companion?
You think it's gonna Terminator? You think it's gonna Terminator 2 it? You think? Is that what you
yeah,
said?
well, yeah,
yeah. You think it's gonna, It's like, oh, the action one, the one that wasn't horror was the better one. Or Aliens, for that matter. But I don't know, bro. Well, can I tell you guys something really, really freaky? I recently watched with some friends Ex Machina, which I'm assuming you guys have both seen.
Nope, but.
Oh, you've not.
But it's been on my list for so long. I know about Max
You really
Machina.
should.
Yeah.
And goddamn, Nick, I wish I could
know,
have
because that is AI. Yeah, I know.
and I wish I could have told you about it like almost when it came out, because oh god, well now I'm just gonna I started this point, I'm gonna finish it. It is weird because that movie I believe came out in 2015. It's about like 10 years old. It is weird. Some of the things it predicted and some of the things it got like really right and some of the things that it got wrong but like kind of like off spec, such that it was like, I know this is like stupid, but I was always like, oh yeah, like like the the robot learns like based off like a language learning model and learns to adapt its speech. It's like, yeah, okay, we have that. We like have that now. Like it's like we do that. We could do that. Like he's like Oscar Isaac in the movie is like, it's this revolutionary new technology that it's like, well, goddamn, in 2015 it probably was.
Yeah.
Like it's a little spooky. It's a little spooky in a weird way. Just please, when you're watching that movie, remember that it was made like 10 years ago. And you'll have a much better experience. Her is so good.
Is a great example. A great example of a movie that took off much later. Once we had like Siri. Once Siri came out, it was like,
ChatGPT. People got married to like their ChatGPT thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I we're like booming out about AI. Like,
it has happened.
Good. Okay,
See?
this is good.
And in the future, we'll be like, oh no, ChatGPT isn't working. What are we going to do?
I hope in the future it's like, you're sitting around the dinner table and it's like, I just wish you'd marry a nice human. You you just like, it's like, I know you love
the meme. The meme with the...
Terrible. Which meme?
Oh, you know which meme, what they're calling them, the Star Wars droids.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I have heard it's like, my I'm not even gonna go down this rabbit hole. I just pray that we live to see a time where, it's not like we're still talking positively about AI. It
You ready?
like
I'm gonna bring up a movie that has been talking about like all of this.
Go for it.
Y2K.
That was all the toys or whatever, robotic toys come together and kill.
Yeah, sorry, isn't that like... Wait
a second. Lip Biscuit that has a very prominent role in that movie.
Okay, yes.
And Tina's saying, "Who is that?"
I was like, it freaking, I was like, wait, Y2K, the movie that kind of sucks. I heard it's fun.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah,
I had so much fun watching it.
Okay.
It's a good quality movie, but it's a lot of fun. And like, but again, we're bringing up like this fear of technology that's been around since the 2000s, when the year was like, that was the thing that people believed, that in 2000s the machines were going to come to life and kill people.
Ryan, you just connected something together in my head. Dude, Fred Durst was also in I Saw the TV Glow.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he's in horror movies. He's just in his horror movie.
Oh. Wait a second. Why the fuck is he allowed? Wait! Get him out of there! Get him out of there! That's good.
He directed a horror movie.
What? Okay, I guess he's in the freaking culture now. Damn. Okay.
Oh my god, what is it called? Oh my god. It has bro from the Final Destination movies. The first Final Destination movies and Idle Hands. Oh my God, was it? It's like the. Oh my God, what is it called? The Fanatic. The Fanatic.
The
Right?
Fanatic.
That's.
The Fanatic.
I gotta make sure that
Yeah.
before I'm right. That's Fred Durst. Yeah, directed by Fred Durst
That is
and Devon
crazy.
Sawa. I could not think of his name. It's Devon Sawa that I'm
I
thinking of.
can't.
Okay.
I can't believe Fred Durst. What's the Fred Durst thing with the you know the meme with him where
Mm,
he's like, first for no
yeah.
particular reason he likes making like things that like freaking. Sorry, I'm doing a very visual
Rolling,
thing right
rolling,
now.
rolling, rolling.
Rolling, rolling around.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. When he showed up as the abusive dad and I saw the TV glow, my eyes popped out of my head. I was like, is that Fred Durst? And yes, it
Yeah,
is.
that's
That is
literally what I
crazy.
did in Y2K. I was like, is that Fred Durst?
That is crazy. Okay, I guess we're gonna keep doing that for a little bit, and then it's gonna be like, oh yeah, you don't know if Fred Durst does movies now. Like, you know. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Alright.
So to kind of tie this all together,
Yeah.
what we talked about, I had to kind of put this in a neat little bow, which I don't know if we're gonna be able to put this all together in a
Hey,
neat
good
little
luck.
bow
Better you than me.
because this is
Better you
such
than
a topic that's
It's open ended.
yeah.
me.
Exactly. It's up to interpretation. I think I kind of want to end this with the open-ended question of what do you guys think? You know, what are movies that you consider classics? And I don't just mean you, Bill and Nick. I mean our audience.
Mhm.
Like, what are
Yeah.
movies that you consider classics? What are movies that you think are going to be classics? What do you think makes a classic? You know, we
Yeah.
talked about all these different decades, movies that we believe are classics or that people look upon as classics. And it's just kind of I think at the end of the day, it's not one person can decide what makes a classic. I think it takes a community to come together and
Yeah.
kind of take hold of the movie or piece of media.
See, that is very true, Ryan. But unfortunately, you have to understand that all my opinions are extremely correct.
Oh,
All of
yeah.
yours. I almost let you get the Hallmark ending. I almost let you get the Hallmark ending.
You did the 2000s like mean-spirited endings that they were doing.
Sorry, actually, no. I mean, I'll be real, like to kind of lean into like the more touchy feely side of like like what horror means and everything, and like honestly just films in general. I feel like in some ways, like you'll like watch a movie and be like, wow, like that's like a like I'll be thinking about this movie for a while, I had a really weird experience the other day. And it's a movie that is weirdly horrific actually. You guys know Perfect Blue? The
I
anime film?
love that is number 3 on my favorite horror movies all time.
Bro. Oh my god. Okay, we cannot use
Perfect
I
Blue
know
has to be a podcast episode because of how much that movie has in it.
We're maybe overstuffing this episode. I won't like talk about it here because it should be an episode in and of itself. I watched Perfect Blue and literally it would not leave like my mind for like days after. And I was like, get out of there. Like what? Like why am I still thinking about this movie? And then I was like literally like, that is a classic, I think. Like a movie
Bro
that
only
just
makes
like,
bangers.
I was shocked by how, because I like saw it with people, and sorry, here I am like being like, oh, don't go see re-releases of movies. It only encourages like, like my ass, like like the theater seat, like
Me
like maybe in the theater, like eating popcorn, like watching Perfect Peak there, Perfect Blue Peak, yeah, like I was like, it's so good, it was so good. Oh my god. Anyway,
if you want to watch something else from that director, watch Millennial Actress.
See, no, dude, so funny. Sorry, I know I'm overstuffing stuff, but
Wait, did I say actor? I meant director. If I said actor or actress.
No, you're good. Millennial director or millennial actress?
Sorry, Millennial Actress is the same director as Perfect Blue. I don't know if I mixed up my words. I thought about.
No, you're good. This is a
Okay.
This is a good blooper. This is a good blooper. I watched Paprika first. And I liked it. I didn't love it. But then everybody's like, oh, you should watch Perfect Blue. And then I watched that and I was like, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
You were the Danny DeVito meme from It's Always Sunny. where he's like,
literally was like, the only thing, okay, there's only one problem with Perfect Blue. And I'll save this more for the for the episode. I walked out and I literally was like, why is it called Perfect Blue? And that's a whole question we can answer. That's a whole question we can like answer. It's
Okay.
not made super clear. But anyway, yeah.
All right.
What about you, Nick? What do you think makes a classic?
Oh, what do I think makes a classic? Yeah,
We're
I
not
think
talking
a
about
good
Perfect
movie.
Blue until the episode. That's premium. That's premium only. That's premium
once
only
we decide
content.
we're gonna do Perfect Blue as an episode, we'll talk about
Perfect
that.
Peak.
I love Perfect Blue.
Perfect peak.
Mhm.
Perfect peak.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think what we talked about really rings true today. Yeah, like what we talked about here, I think is what I agree. I think we're in agreement of like the timelessness and what caused it to be timelessness. But I also think there is going to be classics of tomorrow that are
Mhm.
just statements of today that may not be gelling right now. Like Megan 2.0, like Companion, like Ex Machina, that now it's like, now we don't really care, but later on it will be more scary or more intense or more thrilling. I think those have the potential to be classics of tomorrow, as well as movies such as Sinners and The Substance that are so quickly going to become classics because of the conversation around it.
Mhm.
But I think unfortunately we're going into the technology. We are the technology generation, and we're really going to see an evolution of it. Is what I would predict as far as classics go. Our opinions are not going to be the same opinions as people 50 years from now on what a classic is. I mean, I guess hopefully we'll all still be alive. Actually, that's not too unrealistic.
Yeah,
But-
I was like, wait a second, sorry. By that point, the Three Strangers Media Empire will have already.
Oh right, the Empire.
Yeah, our production facility will already be. We'll be making 5D films, and my new film, Enter the Time Prison, will be releasing. So you know what,
Ooh.
Nick? You know what?
Yeah,
I don't
name
know.
drop.
I don't know why Enter the Time Prison just came into. It's actually kind of a.
That's pretty good. That's
Interesting.
believable.
Copyright.
Write that down. Anyway.
With all of that
okay.
being said, thank you everyone for listening. Happy Halloween to all of those who celebrate
Oh
it. Please
Right,
be
happy Halloween.
safe. Check your candy. I know that's
Yeah.
such like a parent thing to say, but you can never be too careful with how things are. Let us know what you think are some classics. Let us know what your Halloween costume is. You guys see me as Joe Bob. You know, we'd love to hear what the
Thank
trends
you.
are this year of like
Yeah.
what is going to be the most popular Halloween costume.
Yes,
Oh,
and thank
yeah.
you, Ryan, for telling us to dress up. I went as music. I went as music fan number one.
Music
But-
fan.
Music
And I
fan
went
number
as
one.
cozy therapist in my red looking
Oh.
cardigan. It's a sweater, but it looks like a cardigan.
It does, dude.
It
You look
does.
great. And you look great.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Mhm.
great. Thanks.
And be on the lookout for the next episode where we will be talking about a movie that we were asked to review.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool
Moving on up.
mystery about that one. We're not sure how it's
Moving on
gonna be. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really cool project we were able to ask to be reviewed with or ask to review. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for that. You know, maybe legitimize ourselves a bit. I'm not speaking anything, but Enter the Time Prison's not gonna pay for itself. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, gosh darn, I need some capital. Das Capital. Let's go.
And with that being said, always remember what may not be a classic today may be a classic in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, Ryan.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.